Govee DreamView G1 Gaming Light Kit is an immersive lighting system designed for PC monitors between 24 and 29 inches. RGB lights are basically synonymous with PC gaming at this point, and these lights are powerful enough to light up surprisingly large spaces, but just how adaptive and immersive is the experience that Govee has to offer? Hi, I'm Zach, and you're watching another product review from MakeUseOf.com. There's really no shortage of options available for gaming light rigs or DIY alternatives for a more immersive gaming experience. Govee's new DreamView gaming lights opt for mounting a camera on top of your monitor that senses the colors on screen. The camera attachment has an overall minimal design that's really no more intrusive than any other mountable webcam. And the actual lights consist of a neon strip that will be mounted to the back of your monitor and two freestanding light bars. I think that all the lighting components look really nice on their own, even before becoming a part of your larger gaming setup. The light bars have this sleek metallic finish on them, and the light strip has a flexible casing that acts as a diffuser while also looking more appealing than the general exposed LEDs that you'll find on a lot of other monitor mounted lights. And as you can see, when it's all set up like this, it really does look pretty awesome. The DreamView G1 box has quite a bit to unpack. The first item out of the box is the gaming camera. This acts as the central hub of the entire light kit. The camera has a spring-loaded hinge and an adhesive pad to grip the top of your display. At the back of the camera, there are ports for power, audio, and the lighting attachments. The power cable and the audio cables come separately in the package, but the light elements like the bars and the neon strip have their cables attached. Everything else in the box is used for mounting the neon strip and calibrating the system. There are a total of 9 mounting clips of 3 different sizes, 2 alcohol disinfectant wipes, so you can wipe down the back of your monitor and prime it to stick the adhesive mounts on, and 8 of these funny looking orange squares. These goofy looking squares are actually foam stickers that you use to temporarily stick on your monitor to help calibrate the camera. Lastly, in the box are 2 screen positioning cards to help you place the mounting clips on the back of your monitor based on your display's aspect ratio. Govee includes positioning cards for aspect ratios of 16:9 and 21:9. They also say that the compatible range for monitor sizes is between 24 and 29 inches, and they need to be flat backed. My monitor is 24 inches, so the smallest size on the end of that range, and has a pretty flat back, so it worked no problem. I will say that the corner pieces for the mounting clips had a bit of like bend and give to them, so you might get a little bit of leeway if your monitor has like a slight curve. And on Govee's website, they have a picture of compatible monitors and then monitors that you want to avoid. And it does look like there's a little bit of wiggle room, and it includes extra mounting clips. So you've got a few extra, but the compatible size and range is 24 to 29 inches and flat back. Even though mounting the neon strip on the back of the monitor is easy and fast, you can probably imagine with the variety of different PC gaming setups and the size ranges of monitors that the DreamView allows for, setup and calibration is going to take some time and fiddling with. Adjusting the distance between the light bars in your monitor, as well as controlling the other light sources in the room, all have noticeable effects on how the G1 performs. Govee even suggests placing a dark mouse pad on your desk directly below the camera while you're calibrating it to prevent any light reflections off the surface of your desk. All of these factors and even a few more in-app settings all go into how the DreamView will perform. And ultimately, it's up to you how much time you want to spend adjusting all of these variables to get the best result. I spent quite a bit of time calibrating and moving things around to get what I think have been the most accurate results so far. Once you've messed with it enough and you've got your light bars at the proper distance and you've adjusted your settings to get the most accurate reading you can for your particular setup, you are ready to begin your immersive gaming experience. The only thing left you'll need to do is download the Govee Home app and connect your phone to your DreamView G1 through Bluetooth. The Govee Home app is the control center for any and all Govee products, so if you already own any other Govee accessories, your G1 gaming light kit will feel right at home with the rest of your smart lights. However, the Govee Home app is not the ideal command center for an immersive experience. If the only thing that you're planning on using the Govee Home app for is to control your DreamView light kit, you can definitely do that, but you're gonna be ignoring about 80% of the rest of the app. Beyond the section of the app used to directly control your DreamView or whatever other Govee products you have, there are entire sections of this app that appear to be like a weird attempt at a Govee-centered social media platform, but I can't really tell if that's what it is. There's people in different groups and you can share pictures of your Govee lights, but you also have a weird like leveling system. Like some people are level 5. I don't know if maybe they got XP from some of these interactive things that maybe look like they're games, but I can't really tell what those are for either. As you might expect, there's also a shop where you can browse more Govee related products, and a bit more egregiously, there are actually banner ads that pop up in a few sections. And while the banner ads especially are like pretty annoying, all that stuff you can pretty just safely ignore and focus on the part that controls the product you already have. But even if you're like me and end up ignoring almost all of the app in favor of just being able to control your DreamView G1, that section of the app is still plagued by menus within menus and unintuitive, clunky design. There are a couple spots where there's weird formatting issues where text doesn't line up. Even something as simple as like setting a timer for when you want your lights to go off just doesn't look very intuitive. But when you're in the part of the Govee Home app that you're using to directly control your DreamView G1, there are basically 5 different modes that you can use to control your lights. I'll use the rest of the video to go into each of these modes in a little bit of detail. They are audio mode, video mode, color mode, which I'm gonna lump in with DIY mode, and scene mode. So the first mode that you see in the Govee Home app is actually audio mode. And even though the DreamView G1 is primarily designed to be an adaptive gaming experience, the adaptive music feature is probably what got me most excited about this thing. The idea of having these colorful RGB lights dance and swirl to the rhythm of whatever song I'm listening to became all the more enticing with the inclusion of the audio splitter cable. The splitter allows you to plug from your speakers directly into the gaming camera, and with the mode being called music mode, I was really excited to try it out. The music mode within the app has options for you to synchronize your lights through the device's microphone, your phone's mic, or through the aforementioned audio splitter cable that plugs into your speakers. And as disappointing as this is, I think it's pretty fair to say that the adaptive audio feature for the DreamView G1 just doesn't really work. It will adapt to some sounds and flash brightly when there is something loud enough going on, but if you're using either of the microphone options, it'll be picking up any audio, not just sounds from your music or your speakers in general. And if you do plug it directly into your speakers, it will just blink randomly. Even if there's no sound coming out at all and you have everything muted, it will just sort of flash in random increments. And like I had kind of alluded to, I spent quite a bit of time messing with the different settings and adjusting everything and calibrating stuff because I really wanted to get the most out of this. So when the adaptive audio seemed not to be working even after I'd used the splitter cable to plug my speakers directly into the camera, I actually contacted customer support because one of the things that the app does do is make it very easy for you to report a problem. And after seeing the lights sort of flashing sporadically, I assumed I must have done something wrong or just set something up incorrectly. But Govee's customer service has assured me that even when there is no music, the lights will continue to randomly change. That doesn't really sound like adaptive audio to me. That just sounds like it's kind of randomly flashing and occasionally it'll sync up with the sounds that happen to be coming out. It's not completely broken because it will react to some sounds that are loud when you're using the microphone input options, but if it's just sporadically flashing even when there's no sound, that just feels, I don't know, like it's guessing. The adaptive audio just doesn't really provide an immersive experience whether you're using it to listen to music or as an audio accompaniment for your gameplay. Thankfully, the other light modes all work better than this one, so maybe we should just move on to one of those. So on to video mode. That's what has been on in the background the whole time, and it is what provides the immersive experience that Govee is talking about. Video mode is the camera viewing what is on screen at any given time and adapting the colors and the lights based on what you see on screen. This mode definitely works a lot better than the adaptive audio mode, but it still isn't perfect. Even after spending hours adjusting the white balance and changing the positions of the light bars in relationship to my monitor and recalibrating the camera with the foam stickers, it's a little less accurate than I would have hoped for. Maybe just in the time that I've had it on in the background while I'm talking, you can tell a couple times that it doesn't quite sync up. Let's see if we can get an example of that. Not very white up there. Green mist, kind of. Yeah, so some of these blues just like aren't really showing up. When the colors on screen are bright and vibrant, or there's a lot of a single color, the G1 does a great job. Anything that's more complicated than that or showing lots of colors at once, it just ends up losing a few of the color values in the process. And if the colors are more muted or less saturated or really just darker at all, I think that the G1 leaves a lot to be desired. And for those darker colors, or if there's black anywhere on the screen, you're gonna end up seeing a lot of either solid red or solid blue, depending on where you set the temperature of your white balance. If you end up with it being a little cooler, expect to see a lot of blue. If you set it to warmer, anytime there's black on the screen or just like a darker scene or less vibrant colors in your gameplay, it'll look bright red. So you can pretty much always expect to see a lot of one of those two colors. Aside from that, I noticed that the DreamView definitely seems to favor colors on the periphery of the screen rather than in the center. In this particular gameplay example of Hearthstone, when you win, there's literally fireworks happening in the middle of the screen, but all of the colors sort of just stay static on the sides. This might have to do with the fact that my monitor is on the smaller side of what's compatible with the DreamView G1. Maybe if I was closer to like the 29-inch size monitor, it would be able to see more of the middle and not just be sensing the sides. But I mean, 24 inches is said to be compatible, and those are the results I'm getting with it. Color mode. This is easily the most straightforward out of all of the modes in the Govee Home app, and as a result, there aren't really any performance issues with it. This mode just gives you the option to set every individual segment on the neon strip or either of the light bars to any color you want, really. You get a color wheel, so it really does feel like you have pretty limitless options as far as what you want your color scheme to be. In color mode, whatever you select, the colors will always remain static. They don't change or fade or do any like the cool stuff you're seeing in the background right now. But in addition to color mode, there's also a DIY mode that allows you to further customize the behavior of the lights. It kind of feels like to me that maybe DIY mode and color mode could be consolidated into one area, since color mode is just like a solid color the whole time. But in DIY mode, you can choose between multiple colors the same way and change the way that the lights flash and fade and swell in between them. But man, DIY mode is where some of the unintuitive menus within menus and clunky app design really starts to rear its head. I found the process of saving my DIY light pattern and having it in an accessible place on my settings menu that I could pull up as quickly and easily as video mode or scene mode or something like that to be so frustrating that I don't really have a desire to program any new ones, and I'd much rather just stick with the other settings. Which brings me to the last setting and the one that I used most outside of video mode, and that is scene mode. Now moving on to scene mode, which I have updated on in the back. We're currently using my personal favorite called card playing. Scene mode gives you the option between 42 different light displays with names like dance party, electro dance, fireworks, and racing game. A lot of these scenes almost seem like they're demonstrations of what users might be able to create in the DIY mode, but I think a lot of these patterns are maybe just a bit too complicated for that. Some of these scenes I found to be extremely pleasant. For instance, we've got leisure, just a nice fade between a couple warm colors. This one called meditate, which is essentially the same thing except through cooler colors, just fading between a couple different shades of blue. The stability that these scenes provide is a really nice change of pace from the constant adaptation of video mode. As with previously discussed modes, these scenes don't come without their fair share of issues though. Apart from the few that I mentioned that I found myself returning to pretty frequently, the other 35 plus or so were basically unbearable. And while that may sound harsh, I'm actually gonna have to give a quick strobe warning for any light-sensitive viewers. The majority of these scenes feature bright and abrupt flashing lights that can be genuinely headache-inducing. It really seems like Govee went for quantity over quality with this section. A lot of these scenes have very similar uncanny names. We've got racing and racing game, shooting game and shooting, card playing and poker. And there are some scene names and icons that just left me kind of confused. For instance, if you're in the emotions section, I can understand why you'd maybe want a light scheme that is excited. Pretty stroby though. Or energetic. Also kind of chaotic. But tension? Why would you want a light scheme that makes you feel tension? Or this one called fright. There's also Halloween, by the way. This one is different than fright. And the biggest of these subcategories is funny, because I guess you want your light scheme to make people laugh? I don't know. Most of these scenes just have zero practical use. You can't use something that's stroby as a light source for your room, and it's way worse if it's behind the screen you're staring at. I really like the inclusion of scene mode. I think it's a good idea, and I use it just as frequently, if not more, than video mode, but the vast majority of these just don't make any sense. When the DreamView G1 works, it really works. When the light bars and neon strips sync up perfectly to a huge boss attack in the game or match the atmosphere of the open world I'm exploring, it really is an immersive gaming experience like nothing I've ever had. Even outside the context of video games, watching anything on my screen occasionally had bombastic moments of color that were amazing to watch. And even seeing the lights react to something like scrolling by an image in an article I'm reading was oddly satisfying. But those truly immersive moments were few and far between. Most of the time, I think the DreamView G1 just offers a more general sense of the overall color scheme on display, which adds a nice ambiance, but isn't quite the same thing as what I was expecting. And while I find most of the scene selection to be literally hard to look at, the few that I did enjoy have been on almost constantly since I've had my G1. I really can't understate just how powerful these lights are. They've all but replaced every light source in my room, and these are just much more pleasant than my overhead lights. But this product isn't marketed as a colorful lamp. It's an immersive gaming experience. So you've seen the footage of the adaptive gameplay and everything else. If this level of accuracy is good enough for you, and maybe this level of immersion is all you need. The lights do react to what's on screen. And the lights do look super cool, enough so that I've had mine on every single day since I've had it. But given the state of the Govee Home app and the DreamView G1's overall performance, it's tough for me to give it a recommendation much stronger than that. Thank you for watching this product review with MakeUseOf.com. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe. MakeUseOf puts out tech reviews for the latest products all the time. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you again in the next one.